Number 26. The falling away. In 2 Thessalonians, we read an important verse about the Antichrist. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and the man of sin be revealed. This verse connects the falling away to the man of sin. Christians will fall away from the gospel of Jesus and toward the gospel of the Antichrist. In other words, the falling away is what shines a light on the man of sin, revealing his identity. This massive falling away has in fact happened just over the last couple of years, as countless Christians have abandoned the true gospel of Jesus to embrace a man who has made a name for himself in this world. To these Christians, the gospel of Jesus has become the gospel of Trump. Gone are the messages of love and forgiveness and salvation that Jesus taught, replaced by Trump's gospel of division, revenge, and greed. In this gospel, Trump's enemies are to be attacked, those who are different are to be vilified, and the love of money is above all. To those who have fallen away, Trump's name is hallowed before that of anyone else. And Trump we trust is the common refrain. Number 27. The Unrighteous Deception. Again, in 2 Thessalonians, we read, The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders, and with all unrighteous deception among those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth, that they might be saved. These verses refer to the Antichrist as the lawless one, which, as I mentioned before, is one of the names given in the Bible to this end-time figure. His coming is according to the working of Satan, but also he is assisted by unrighteous deception from those who don't love the truth. This unrighteous deception helps the Antichrist come to power and eventually rule the world. This very same unrighteous deception is now running rampant among Trump supporters, especially in the media, who conjure up one deceptive story or manipulated video after another in order to promote Trump. Thus, they have been deluded into permanently supporting a man with a history of lying and cheating. Those who practice this unrighteous deception have no love for the truth, instead believing that the ends justify the means. The idea that the ends justify the means is completely at odds with the biblical teaching that as he who called you is holy, you also be holy in all of your conduct. Number 28, the Strong Delusion. As we continue in 2 Thessalonians, we read, And for this reason God will send them strong delusion, that they should believe the lie, that they all may be condemned who did not believe the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. Conservative Christians have looked for the Antichrist to come for many years, and have debated whether this figure would be from Europe or the Middle East. Was he Muslim? Jewish? Surely he would be from the left and stand for those things diametrically opposite that of Christ. The assumption among all of these questions is that the Antichrist would be easy for true Christians to recognize because he would publicly embrace anti-Christian beliefs. Unfortunately, they fail to understand that the only way there could be a strong delusion is if the Antichrist arose under their noses, claiming to believe what they believed. There's simply no delusion if he's easy to recognize. For many years, conservatives have hated the left, the mainstream media, Hollywood, and all things that weren't conservative. Then someone who has made a name for himself around the world comes on the scene attacking the left, the mainstream media, Hollywood, the very same things that conservatives loathe. But why is it that conservatives can't see the evil of Donald J. Trump? Remember that video of a few people standing around passing a basketball to one another, and you're supposed to keep track of the number of passes that go from one person to another depending on the color of their shirt. Of course, what happens is you're so focused on counting the number of passes that you do not notice the gorilla going right through the middle of the scene and out the other side. This is exactly what has happened with conservative Christianity. They have been so busy focusing on the evils of what the left is, of what the mainstream media is, what Hollywood is, that they have not noticed the evil right in their midst. Number 29. The Antichrist starts small, but grows powerful. According to the Bible, the Antichrist shall become strong with a small people. The Antichrist isn't someone who will rule the world overnight. Rather, he starts out on a limited scale and, with the aid of a small group of people, becomes incredibly powerful. Likewise, Trump's political career started in spurts, as he toyed with the idea of running for office 3 different times, in 1987, in 2000, and in 2003, before eventually shocking the world in 2016. Trump's 2016 election victory was indeed propelled by a smaller group of people than supported his opponent. Perhaps even a lot smaller if you count in the help he received from foreign actors. Even to this day, Trump's popularity among Americans is in the minority, and the plurality of people disapprove of him. Number 30. The Antichrist attains the kingdom by flatteries. According to the book of Daniel, the Antichrist shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. The Antichrist will first achieve the kingdom, not by war, but by using the power of flattery to seduce those he needs to support him. Donald Trump has excelled at heaping over-the-top praise on groups he needs to support him, as well as those who have complimented him or praised him in some way. While you may think that all politicians do this, Trump has directly complimented and overtly appealed to groups that Republicans previously have not, such as the gay community, while simultaneously appealing to ultra-conservatives who stand against homosexuality. To both groups, Trump's message is the same. No one will do for them what he will. The fact that these two groups are diametrically opposed to one another seems not to resonate with anyone. Other Bible translations render the term flatteries as deceit, deception, treachery, intrigue, and trickery. So the implication is clear that the Antichrist is not the least bit sincere in these flatteries, but is simply lying to these groups in order to use them for his own purposes. Trump also is famously susceptible to flattery, as he lives for the compliments he receives. To better understand how Trump uses the power of the flattery, I encourage you to simply Google Trump flattery, and you'll be amazed at the number of articles examining this phenomenon. Not only does Trump use flattery on others to get their support, but others use flattery on him to align themselves behind him. Number 31. The Antichrist conquers with a bow, but no arrows. In Revelation 6, we read, "And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him. He went forth conquering and to conquer." The Antichrist is the first of the 4 horsemen of Revelation 6. He is described as riding a white horse to symbolize that he portrays himself as the Savior. Interestingly, the verse states that he has a bow, but does not mention arrows. Despite this, he was given a crown and goes forth conquering and to conquer. If he doesn't have any arrows, what is the Antichrist launching with that bow? What exactly is his weapon of choice? Listen to what Trump said in a 1990 interview with New York Magazine. "I'm a guy who lies awake at night and thinks and plots," Trump said. Keep in mind, this was 14 years before Twitter was invented and 17 years before he himself had joined. Now look at these 2 Bible verses. He devises wickedness on his bed. He sets himself in a way that is not good. He does not abhor evil. Woe to those who devise iniquity and work out evil on their beds. At morning light they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. Did you catch it? Those who practice evil, because it is in the power of their hand. Trump has indeed devised wickedness on his bed, and with his hands he launches attack after attack on Twitter. The phone is his proverbial bow. His tweets are the arrows, and with them he has indeed conquered one adversary after the other. Number 32. The Antichrist will succeed in all that he does. The Bible says that the Antichrist shall destroy fearfully and shall prosper and thrive. The Antichrist will be a force of nature, both destroying those who oppose him and prospering in all that he does. His successes will come in legion, and will be why many either worship him or acquiesce to his will. There are those who think Trump has failed at many of his objectives as president, whether getting the wall built or having his way on a variety of issues. They couldn't be farther from the truth, though, as nearly everything Trump has done has resulted in his getting what he wants. From successfully surviving the investigation into Russia's meddling in the 2016 election, to the impeachment, to systematically installing passionately pro-Trump political appointees throughout the government, to even destroying politically those who oppose him. Trump, like the Antichrist, will both destroy and prosper. In his second term, look for Trump to successfully destroy much of the free press by loosening the libel laws, and tout that as a major victory to his supporters. And they will, no doubt, agree. Number 33. The Antichrist shall do exploits. The Antichrist will do big things around the world, which is one of the reasons that all nations will marvel at him. His exploits will be clear for all to see, and he will be both praised and feared because of them. With Trump, there's no question that he views his own achievements in the most grandiose style imaginable. While much of what he says is hyperbole, there's no question that he has already achieved a great deal in this world. Trump will eventually have his Great Wall on the southern border, and he will eventually do many other exploits around the globe. And you can be sure that each one of these exploits will serve the purpose of telling us how great he is and how his name should be honored among men. Number 34. The Antichrist will think to change times and laws. I feel this is an overlooked prophecy and one that will end up shocking us when it comes to fruition. The words "think to change" make it clear that the Antichrist will look to change long-established laws that other men had not even dared to consider doing. Looking at Trump, there are two things that stand out regarding this prophecy. First, he has often said that libel laws need to be changed so that those who publish what he calls fake news can be sued. Obviously, this will clamp down severely on free speech, but that is exactly what Trump wants. Secondly, Trump has consistently spoken of eliminating presidential term limits, usually in a semi-joking manner. But it's one of those jokes that, when hearing it, you know that the joke teller is quite serious because he keeps coming back to it again and again. Take a second and look at this Trump quote from June 6, 2019. A poll should be done on which is more dishonest and deceitful newspaper, the failing New York Times or the Amazon Washington Post. They are both a disgrace to our country, the enemy of the people, but I can't figure out which is worse. The good news is at the end of 6 years, after America has been made great again, and I leave the beautiful White House, do you think the people would demand that I stay longer? Both of these horrible papers will go out of business and be forever gone. In this tweet, Trump attacks both the free press and tosses out the idea that he should remain president for more than 2 terms. When Trump gets a second term, and he will, look for him to change the libel laws and presidential term limits, because both will be at the top of his to-do list.